Hey, Eric Stompers and Ken Spires here. Hey, we're just finishing day one morning sessions at Haystack Connect.
Sure.
Kenny, what are some of your thoughts, man?
Well, first I thought that Mark Peacock and John Petsy did a marvelous job as emceeing the first day mid-session. Had some great demographics come out of it. They asked questions like how many people in the crowd were end users. Approximately 245 people here. End users, there was about 10 to 15. Consulting engineers present here were approximately 30. Systems integrator, the larger portion, about 40 to 60 people. And then John asked a very interesting question, because we always talk about what our age is of our industry.
Yeah.
He asked how many people here are under 40 years of age.
And you raised your hand, I raised my hand.
We both lied and said we were 39 and a half. Actually, 60% of the people here were over 40 years old, and 40% of the people here, approximately 35 to 40%, are under 40. So that gives you an idea of kind of the demographics of who came and what type of people and what their ages were as far as professionally in development.
Yeah, it's kind of cool, Kenny, that we had end users this year and consulting engineers. That's very encouraging.
Sure it is. Well, it just shows that the Project Haystack is a community, and there's a lot of end user part of the community. They're very concerned on the development of Project Haystack because they want to see it. They want to see it because they want the data out of their buildings, and they want the self-describing concept to take hold, and they're here to support that.
That's good stuff, good stuff. Okay, so first speaker we had was from Vodafone, right?
Yeah, it was David Mantell, who's an engineer from Vodafone, is an expert on M2M in America, but also global enterprises. And he was talking about how costs are being driven down by technology and how the products are now global and their the footprints and the constructs, everything's global, and how that's going to keep driving the cost down, and also that the consumers are pushing the wheel. The consumers expect this technology to be put into effect and to be accessible for them.
So the big thing with that, I think, Kenny, is there's a big drive, especially with internet security and all that. You know, normally people hook their buildings up through the internet. Now, it seems like a lot of this is they're talking about using wireless phone connections, right? Sure. Is a way to connect the systems.
Sure, and also that there were some security issues that he addressed very well, and it was also how he knows they're learning our building management protocols. He was talking about Modbus. He was talking about BACnet. So we're seeing this kind of overlapping of industries where we used to be all separated by silos. Now they're learning more about our industry.
Right.
Everybody has an IT expert, and this IT expert's job is to take information and aggregate it to the furthest extent possible to lower costs, increase efficiencies, and make people happier with their services.
Yeah, very cool. Our next speaker was from Intel, man. They're back in the game in a big time way, huh?
Well, Eric, I take notes because there's just so much content here. I take this professionally and also for control transfer.
Right.
This was some amazing information. This gentleman was Dr. Milan Milenkovic, and he is he's just a general intelligent guy. He was a professor. He has every certification you can have, but he specialized in network intelligence, and he just went into different levels for the layman's understanding and also to the systems integrators. But he also talked about Haystack, and he came up with a very interesting formula where he had IT, which is information technology, OT, which is operational technology, and he said that's the true IoT. Not the Internet of Things, but actually the integration of information technology, operational technology becomes IoT, and I really got a kick out of that because it makes so much sense.
It makes a lot of sense. And of course, we picked up a while back that Intel was moving into the space in a big time way. Last year at IBCOM, Rocom, we heard him speak. And Kenny, they're not staying still, man. No. He gave an example of a job in the session, right?
Well, there was two that I picked up on that were very important. One was the ongoing progress we're making with Daikin and McQuay. They now work very closely with Daikin and learning more about how they can aggregate information directly from the equipment to the cloud, to the services provided in the cloud. And they were very proud to announce that in the short time that they've been working with Daikin McQuay, they've experienced a 15% energy savings that's very, very documented. And probably one of the biggest reasons why is they can monitor how the equipment is operating and what's going to go wrong, and they can take all that sensor information now and analyze it and prevent.
So the chips are embedded in the machines and everything else. So
and then also the weather, the predictability of what they need to have, emphasis on people taking early Fridays off, and just how to keep people comfortable, but how to maximize the efficiencies. And they're also working with KMC. In fact, they talked about the Gisele Lonlonder's secondary school job, which was about metering and benchmarking each student, how much energy was being used, and then also it's the first IoT ready school, perhaps in North America. But they focused on CO2, occupancy, comfort, safety, and the environment. And it says there's no data. He concluded his presentation with no big data analytics is possible on fragmented, undecipherable data, and semantics and data indexing, like Project Haystack, is the future. And so,
yeah, it's a big thing we're seeing, and hopefully, we'll have to touch base. But we did film it, so hopefully we can post these.
Sure.
If we get permission to. We will. So you get to see more about that. And that led us to Brian Frank, who we interviewed yesterday on the show, and Brian spoke a little about, because again, it's not just excuse me, it's not just getting the data; it's getting the data in a usable format.
Well, Brian, he ran us through for the first person, or if this was your first time at Haystack or your first introduction to Project Haystack, he really spelled it out. And he was saying how right now our naming conventions are understood by humans and barely. And what the goal of Haystack is to make data self-describing so that the machines can talk to machines and eliminate the labor, the incredible amount of labor that presently we now expend to map information and to do what you call the data monkey man.
Yeah.
As a very intelligent person has got to spend time mapping points that should not have to be mapped. It should be
monkey, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So it just talked about who's going to be responsible and help describe data. And he was talking about the ecosystem, the manufacturers that make fixed function VAC controller type equipment, the systems integrators and contractors who build up a system, the service providers who come in, they overlay their services over top of it, and these are the ones that are beginning to provide that value added. And they're charging, they're the ones that need to aggregate the information to save the customer money. And then the community of people that were present at Haystack, how these people, us all together as a community, are moving this effort forward. And
right.
very
Well,
successfully.
And I think it's kind of interesting, Kenny, not to be lost on this. I mean, a buzzword we've heard about with social media for a while is crowdsourcing, how things get done through crowdsourcing. And Brian Frank told us yesterday that, I mean, this is kind of a great example of crowdsourcing, where people come together, they build something great. I mean, I guess the last big one was Linux, right? The open software system. So I don't think this is going away. As a matter of fact, I think it's gaining momentum.
Well, one of the questions that was asked immediately after Brian Frank did his presentations, hand went up, and there were some people that were very concerned about things. And one was that, how are manufacturers responding to this? And actually, John Petsy said that there's manufacturers that might be using it, not giving Haystack credit for using it, because Haystack doesn't require that you report the usage of it. It's totally open source. They of course want the feedback. They want to give. They want you to give. Givers get. So if you can help Haystack move forward, they really appreciate the manufacturers that are using it to make sure they share that. And he said the manufacturers can't ignore. They can't hide their data. For a manufacturer to think that that's a smart idea, and at this point in time, it's really not. They're going to lose market
especially
share.
with all the cyber hackers we've been talking about. So you're not going to hide it, because Fred Gordy and his black hats will get in and get it. If you, not Fred Gordy specifically, but I'm sorry, Kenny. I digress.
No, it was just some very, very intelligent commentary and some insights from different parts of the world. This gentleman that asked a question, he asked a question about why didn't Haystack take the opportunity to impose certain data, common identifiers, or unique identifiers, and why would you let that not? And Brian Frank answered that question by saying, this is a progress. This whole project is in progress. It's not preclusive yet. They haven't said they wouldn't want to do that, but they're not going to do that now. So it might be something we see in the future, where you'd see common identifiers and unique identifiers being part of the Haystack.
Well, one large manufacturer that was here was Siemens.
It sure
Our
was.
next speaker was from Siemens.
Yep, Mr. Bob Johnson. He went into the deep
dive into BACnet, man.
Into BACnet, because he thinks that there's some correlations there that we can use, and we don't have to start all over again. Of course, everybody agrees with it, because the semantics that BACnet uses has been improved recently. So he discussed the improvements to the BACnet protocol, and he compared the support to classic BACnet, the BACnet web services, and Haystack. We can come into a harmonious relationship with that data without a lot of redundant work. So
cool stuff. Well, I'll tell you what.